The MLB Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Fantasy. Brand new offer for new customers. Play just $5, get $100 bonus funds. Use promo code MLB SGPN. And welcome, everyone, to the MLB Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is currently Saturday night, October 11th, around 8 p.m. Eastern. Actually, right around start time for the Game 5 between the Brewers and the Cubs. But we're here to break down the ALCS because we officially have a matchup now. The Mariners and Tigers game finally ended last night. And now we can move on to talk about the ALCS. We're going to break down our thoughts on what happened in Game 5 yesterday. We'll get into our thoughts of the series between the Blue Jays and the Mariners. Then we'll segue into Game 1. I'm joined once again, Three-Man Weave podcast with Dylan and with Lonte. Dylan, how's it going with you? I see your Devils are actually winning for once. What's up?
Yeah, surprisingly, 3-0. The day I bet against them, they start winning. But it's going good. Got football, some fights on. Baseball's about to start. So having a really good Saturday. How are you?
Fine. Can't complain. College football so far has been good to me, but could have been a bit better. I had a couple of underdogs that I was eyeing, but I didn't end up betting. I had UCLA. I did not end up betting. Bowling Green I was interested in. I didn't bet on either of them, so I feel kind of left out. But either way, point is, decent college football. Couple of fun games I've been watching. Air Force game, Navy game, they're all good stuff. But either way, looking forward to baseball. And looking forward to the ALCS. Also joined by Lonte. Lonte, how's it going with you? How have you enjoyed the college football today?
Not bad. It's been okay. Not the best betting day, but we'll get it back between now and the Hawaii game. So yeah, looking forward to today's show or tonight's show. Sorry. Yeah,
either way, once again, we do have a game going on right now, which actually just started. So we'll see what happens for the NLCS. We'll do an episode for that tomorrow, so stay tuned. But either way, time to briefly recap what happened in Game 5. It was a weird game to recap because it was a lot of action, but nothing actually happened. As paradoxical as that sounds.
Yeah.
Game took about 5 hours. It went 15 innings, and nobody could get a hit. Or when they did, nobody can get a clutch hit for basically the last 3 hours. So Seattle ended up surviving. They won as a dog. I know we all like Seattle to win the game. They got there. If you had the under, I hope you had fun because you sweated through 15 innings of no ghost runner extras, and you ended up getting the job done as the game ended 3-2. But Seattle got the job done. You ended up seeing Skubal pitch insanely well, set the winner-go-home record for most strikeouts, had 13 in 6 innings. Then he got pulled arguably prematurely at around 100 pitches. Finnegan came in, Holton came in, gave up the game-tying run, and eventually the Tigers ran out of pitchers, used former Yankee Tommy Kahnle, and he was awful, and Seattle got the job done via walk-off single by Polanco. Dylan, I'll let you go first. Any thoughts, any takeaways, anything surprise you, or anything you want to mention?
I mean, what a sweat. JP Crawford, we finally got there after like 4 hours, man. But, I mean, the only thing I really got wrong outside was Tariq Skubal, man. He was as good as advertised. I mean, outside of that bottom of the second where Seattle got on the board early, it was kind of a slow-paced game, and it kind of dragged on a lot. But pitching was fantastic. What I guess I didn't understand was Seattle was really trying to win the game, and I really don't think Detroit was in the sense that Seattle was throwing starters at one point, whereas
it was kind of weird because Detroit went to the starters earlier. Seattle was letting the relievers throw like 40-plus pitches, but eventually they got to Gilbert and eventually they got to Castillo. So they delayed using the starters, and Detroit kind of ran out of pitchers.
Yeah, and just eventually the offense came alive in the 15th inning for Seattle, but it was a really good game. If you missed it or fell asleep, I should let you guys know, go back and watch it. I thought it was just start around the 9th inning, around the 8th, 9th inning, and then you could go through it. But outside of that, I thought it was a really good game, and it was a treat. I mean, I stayed up, but it was great.
Yeah, Lonte, what do you think about what happened in Game 5? Any takeaways that you want to mention?
Yeah, really good game. I think you guys pretty much summed it up. I think we both talked about it as well. Both managers tried to lose the game. I mean, I thought pulling Skubal that early was ridiculous. I thought pulling Kirby that early was ridiculous. I mean, both teams had ample chances, left the guys on. you could tell Adam Wainwright was in the booth. Like, why don't they bunt? Why aren't they bunting? Like, and I agree. Like, you got 2 men on, no out. Like, why aren't you trying to bunt? Like, still. So I thought both managers didn't do themselves. They didn't have the best game, but the game was good, entertaining. A lot of swings, a lot of ups, a lot of downs. Thankfully, we all got there with Seattle. But yeah, overall, great game. I thought the managers just didn't do a good job of putting their team in position to win. Although Seattle did come out the more fortunate team, but I think they had more to do with Detroit.
Why did they keep throwing to Carpenter though?
Well, eventually they didn't.
Yeah.
Eventually they did walk him at some point, but the Carpenter at bat really was the main issue that I had with Wilson's game plan because he owns Kirby. Yes, Kirby kept it in the ballpark. He did end up giving up a couple of singles, not home runs, so I guess that's progress. But you had a guy on second, Carpenter's up, and Kirby, for the most part, has been rolling. Baez had a double. He should have been out at second, not the best throw by Julio, but either way. Point is, they decided, you know what, Kirby's been rolling, but we're going to go to Spire, who was awful in Game 4, and said, yeah, let's see what happens, and immediately gets up a bomb. Immediately. They went from up 1-0 to down 2-1, and then eventually the Hinch situation happened. He pulled Skubal at 99 pitches, and then they brought in Finnegan and Holton. That didn't go well, and you ended up seeing Rivas come through with a very nice pinch hit single on his birthday. So nice job by him. Then Seattle got the job done because Canely was terrible, and it just felt like a war of attrition at that point. I'll put it this way. It was full of drama and a lot of suspense. Having said that, I do think that every single extra inning game is not necessarily an instant classic. I get that for the actual emotions for Seattle, it's an all-time great game. Yeah. Because it's one of the biggest wins of their entire franchise's history. As a viewer, look, I was kind of laughing at both teams at one point just for how inept both teams were offensively. The strikeouts were a joke. The clutch hitting was a joke. The lack of bunting, I thought, was also kind of insane. Both teams and both managers did everything they could to lose the game, and Seattle did just enough to win. But to mention the actual stats to kind of just hammer everything home here, you know how many strikeouts both teams combined to have?
Over 30.
It's definitely over 30. I'm asking. Do you want?
I would say 33.
They combined for 37.
Let's go.
They combined for 37 strikeouts. Detroit had 17. Seattle had 20. For the record, every single player besides Josh Naylor, who started, had a strikeout. Every single player out of the original 18 in the game had at least one strikeout.
Yeah, Naylor was good.
So it was a hideous game of baseball.
What do you think what do you think that's attributing? Do you think they're just gassed? Do you think they're tired? Or do you think the pitching was that good?
Detroit's always been a strikeout-heavy team. I feel like it happened in the locker room towards the end of the regular season. They asked Riley Green about the 17 or whatever strikeouts they had, and he was shocked they had that many. It happens more than you think. The Tigers' offense is a joke. I've been roasting this offense for a while, especially during the playoffs. And you're looking at Seattle, they strike out a lot too. So I think it was a mix. Now, both teams, matchup-wise, I thought did a pretty good job when it comes to pitching two hitters. And Skubal had 13 of the 20 strikeouts that Seattle dealt with. So, Skubal, it is what it is. Yeah. But 37 strikeouts combined. I mean, Detroit was 1 for 9 with running scoring position. Seattle was 2 for 11. It was a very, very memorable game for the sake of Seattle and for the sake of Detroit, I guess. As a baseball fan, I'm happy that I got to witness it as it happened. I will never watch a replay of that game for the rest of my life. That is the only time I'll ever be watching that game. And I sat through it. I did not change the channel at any point. I got through it. But there was no chance, even 9th inning onward, I will ever rewatch that game. That's my stance on that. So maybe I'm a bit harsh, but it was not pretty baseball.
I'll say this. I agree with what you're saying. It's the biggest win for Seattle since, 2001 when they made the ALCS last time. But for Detroit now, season's over. They had a good first half. Obviously, we know the meltdown in the second half. They're going to have some transactions that they're going to need to do this offseason. Gleyber Torres is a free agent. Javi Baez. That rotation needs some work. Reese Olson. What do you think the biggest hole that they need to fix in this club?
It's got to be hitting, man. It's got to be hitting. You can argue about the pitchers. I know Flaherty came out of the bullpen, and he actually settled down a bit.
He wasn't bad.
He was really bad early. Then he settled in. He got away with it. But Detroit can't hit.
Yeah.
And I've been mentioning this for a while. I know that it worked out in theory that Carpenter was batting leadoff, and he got on base a ton in the elimination game. Besides Carpenter, nobody was a threat to do anything for the entire game. And I know that Dingler had a double at some point. You ended up seeing Baez who had a double as well. I mean, Carpenter was 4 for 5 with 2 walks. Torres was 0 for 6 with a walk. Green was 0 for 6 with a walk. Torkelson 0 for 6. Keith 0 for 5. McKinstry 1 for 6. Dingler was 2 for 6. Once again, not that bad. Meadows was 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts. And Baez was 1 for 6. Nobody did anything. Carpenter had the 2-run homer. Both their runs came from one swing. That's it. They did nothing the rest of the game. It was disgusting to watch. Seattle also struck out a lot too. And I thought that Suarez was so bad in that game. But they did enough. And you know what? Polanco can still hit. They still have Raleigh. They still have Julio. I know Julio didn't do anything, but at least Raleigh had a hit in 2 walks. I mean, Julio had 2 walks, to be fair, but they just had a bit more firepower. Mm-hmm. Detroit can't get by running a AAA lineup and expect to make the World Series. No, that can't happen.
I like Torkelson, Cole Keith. He's a good young guy, but they need help.
He was terrible last night.
But outfield, I mean, beyond Riley Green in left field, they have a lot of decisions to make. I feel like that outfield is not good.
I don't ask you a question. Do you know which Detroit player?
They gotta have some kind of power in the lineup.
And you have Carpenter, your main power guy, batting leadoff. Like, you're not going to have anything besides that. So I do want to ask you though, trivia question.
Right. That's
you know which Tiger starter yesterday has the highest batting average the entire postseason? Who led the team out of all the starters yesterday in batting average for the postseason? That is correct. Who batted in
2 for 2?
Who batted in the 9 spot?
Your
9 hitter, 313.
That's not bad.
Yeah, he's the 9 hitter. The whole lineup didn't make any sense. The guy who's leading your team batting average is batting last, and the guy with the most power is batting first. Your whole lineup didn't make any sense.
Remember when Javi Baez was a Met?
I think Mets fans try to forget that. But either way, point is Seattle won. They didn't do that great offensively either, but you know what? They survived. That's all that matters. A nice job by them, plus money. We did a good job there. Mm-hmm. And we'll see what happens in Game 1 and for the series against Toronto, because Toronto was chilling for the last couple days, and they got to watch that happen yesterday. So not a great spot for Seattle, having to travel. They had 1 day off, but everybody pitched basically. So we'll see what happens. But either way, before we get into the series preview, any other thoughts you want to mention for Game 5?
No, just thank God the game was finally over. When it got to like 1 o'clock, I was like, yo, I'm trying to go to bed.
It was 5 hours. I had to sit through it, but it was not attractive baseball. I'll put it that way. You would no runs for about 3 straight hours.
Easy.
Like it was pretty ugly towards the end. But either way, Seattle got the job done. Time to move on into their next series, taking on the Blue Jays in the ALCS. Before we get into the actual ALCS, a reminder, the NHL is back. So check out the Hockey Gambling Podcast. Join Ryan and Joel as they break down the biggest games, storylines, awards, and best bets throughout the season. Let it slide. We're brought to you by MyBookie.ag. Use them to bet on football, college football, baseball playoffs. You also have tennis. You can name a bunch of different sports. UFC, if you're into it. They have a prop builder, second to none. Model simple. Bet anything, anywhere, anytime. Use crypto for deposit and payouts. You can sign up for a new account. Use code SGPN for a special 100% bet bonus $500 for customers with the G promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Novig. America's #1 prediction market for sports, getting some great prices as well on Novig. So check it out. Available in 35 states. Download the Novig app. And when you do, you can get a nice discount or a nice promo sign-up deal with us. You get $50 if you spend just $5. If you use the promo code SGPN, get on the actual Novig. Promo code SGPN. Welcome back, everyone, to the MLB Gambling Podcast. Finished going through the recap of Game 5 in the ALDS. Time to move on into the ALCS. Toronto hosting the Mariners. Now, for the history of the franchises, very big series for both teams. Seattle, we know, has never actually made it that far. As for Toronto, they did end up winning a couple. Shout out to Joe Carter, but that was 30-plus years ago. So not exactly much success recently for either franchise. We'll see what changes, as one of them will be going to the World Series. Now, it's a 7-game series, a reminder, first 7-game series of the postseason. And for the actual pricing, Toronto's favored to win the series at around -130. Seattle's +110. For the over-under in games, I see basically 5.5 or 6.5, mainly 5.5. For the spread, I see Toronto minus 1.5 games is at plus 160. Seattle plus 1.5 games is minus 195. And once again, if you're picking a longer series, the over 6.5 games is around plus 190. So, Dylan, I'll let you go first. After what we saw in both series and what we saw the entire regular season, I guess, do you think this line feels too short? Because I'm kind of shocked Toronto's only laying 130.
Yeah, I got it in the morning. I wanted to check in the morning, and I got a minus 115 to bet them. I bet them minus 1.5 at plus 170 as well. As much as I like the Mariners, and I think they're a cool story and a cool team, I just can't back them in this series. I just don't believe, we mentioned it just for the first 10 minutes of the show, they just don't have the offensive depth to compete with the Blue Jays right now. And as good as the pitching has been for them, they're extremely tired, and I think they're thin at this point, whereas Blue Jays have been sitting back. They're resting. They had a few days off. They're coming into this series fully rested. So, yeah, I think they have a ton of momentum. I think offensively, they're just the much better team. And, so I like the Blue Jays here, minus 115 and minus 1.5 as well.
Yeah, so I do want to ask you, though, since we both think the price is a bit short, what do you think this line should be if you had to price it yourself?
Probably minus 150, minus 160.
Okay. And Lonte, what about you? What do you think? Because I feel like we all agree, especially after Seattle used every pitcher for Game 5. We'll get into Game 1 in a second. There is a chance they punt Game 1. Like, that's a possibility, too. They give somebody the mop-up role and try to rest everybody. So you might see them no-show Game 1, and that gives Toronto an edge in general. I'm shocked it was 130, 125. You?
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys. I mean, they're in a bad spot already coming off of that long game. They got to travel to another country. I'm not sure how long the travel is from Seattle to Toronto, but it can't be that easy. I mean, the Blue Jays, they've been scoring, and I don't think that the Mariners will be able to outscore them. If Toronto can navigate through the top of that lineup and, not give up a ton to Raleigh and Julio, I find it hard to believe that they'll be able to outscore Toronto. And I think that's what you're going to have to do. Gosman's been looking okay. I love the lineup. And Toronto, Detroit's only scored over 3 runs once. And that was the first game. Was it Game 3? I think in Detroit. So I don't trust their offense.
By the way,
the pitching edge would go to the Mariners if they can.
In one of the losses, they scored 9 the game after. So technically, they got to 4 runs twice. They scored more than 4 runs once.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, the Mariners pitching. No, you good. The pitching is that's their biggest strong point. Now, can they go in and shut down? They got to win at least one of these first 2. I'm not just curing cancer here, but they got to win one of these first 2, and it's highly unlikely, I think, that they win Game 1. So they're already behind the 8 ball, and now you got to come back. Who do you throw? Who are they?
It might be Bryce Miller, right?
They're using Bryce Miller for Game 1.
I don't know what the rotation.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know they announced it yet. Okay, yeah, Bryce Miller. Yeah. I don't trust him against this Toronto lineup. So. I thought D-Rock was right about 150, 155 should be the price. So,
I feel the same way. Toronto. I do want to remind everybody, though, that this is a unique format. We are using 2-3-2. So the first 2 games are in Toronto. Next 3 games are in Seattle. Final 2 games are in Toronto. So technically, if Seattle does win one of the first 2 games, they can win if they win out at home. Do I like it? Honestly, no, I don't.
Yeah. You like that?
I think it gives too much of an advantage to the team that does not have home field, personally. Now, it's baseball, so home field doesn't really matter. Who cares? But I don't think that it's really fair to the team that, because we know baseball can be a bit weird, but if you get the 1 seed, it should mean something. And I get that you have Game 6 and Game 7. But if you just no-show 1 game to start a series, then suddenly if you lose every other – you just lose in 5?
Yeah.
I think that's really not for me, but – other leagues have done it. I know the NBA has done that before. It's not a new, invention. They switched it because they thought it was dumb too. But I'm just saying that was a thing for the NBA Finals for a decade and change. It's not something that's new, but
yeah. LeBron
I never
hated it
liked
and said
it. I've
made
always
it
been a
made
bigger fan of the 2-2-1-1-1.
I agree.
So that's what I prefer. But then again, that's not our problem. That's how the MLB does it. So we're going to respect that. But we like Toronto. I think Toronto coasts personally. If we're ignoring the actual bad spot for a second and just talking about these teams and how they're constructed, I'm still not sure Seattle can hit.
No.
And we saw Raleigh have a very good series. Julio was pretty terrible. He had the big home run early in the series. He walked twice in Game 5. But, I mean, if I'm going to read off these batting averages so far in the postseason for these players, Arozarena, 174. Raleigh, 381. So, once again, Raleigh was very good. Rodriguez, 174. Polanco, 182. That's with the game-winning, series-winning hit. Suarez had a batting average below 100. Naylor's at 261, second best on the team. Garver's at 200. You have Robles at 143, who may or may not have a broken hand.
He definitely has a broken hand, and they gave him 4 straight balls.
Yeah, they did. That did happen. But Robles might have a fractured hand. And you had Crawford, who batted 263. The point is their lineup, I don't think, is very balanced. And I think if you can pitch around Raleigh and maybe Julio, we'll see if Julio can actually show up for a clutch moment. I don't trust the rest of their lineup to do anything. I think Naylor's pretty good. I like Naylor. But Suarez has been a bust and a half that they acquired midseason. The bottom of the lineup's not very good. And you look at Toronto and what they did to the Yankees. That lineup is absolutely filthy from 1 to 9. They can torture pitchers left and right. They can work counts. And Seattle's main calling card is the starting pitching. If you can get these starters out of the game by the 5th inning or so, Seattle's got problems because their bullpen held up in Game 5. It was dicey for decent parts of that series. Even Munoz wasn't great in the game yesterday. He got through it. But I think Toronto's the better team. And I think Toronto's offense is light years better than Seattle's. And even the pitching staff. Gausman was good against the Yankees. I mean, Savage might struggle. We'll see. But they can throw out some guys. I think that Toronto can handle it with the mixing and matching. We saw with the bullpen. Yeah. I thought that the manager did a great job of mixing and matching. He might do the same thing against Seattle as well. Toronto's lineup, though, I think so much better than Seattle's. And that's why I'm picking them to win the series. This might be ugly. I think Toronto wins in 5 or 6.
Yeah.
I think that this might be a pretty lopsided series. I'm going Toronto in 6.
I was just going to ask you, it's at 5.5. I was going to do 5.
I think that, once again, the play for me is Toronto minus 1.5. You cover everything. Yeah. But I don't see this going to 7. I don't see Seattle winning 3 games. I'll give Seattle 2. But if Toronto would win in 5, I would honestly not be surprised. I don't think these teams are close. And maybe you could argue I'm being harsh or I'm overreacting. I don't think I am, because this offense for Seattle can be really, really stagnant. And Toronto's offense is really never stagnant. They will make you work for every single spot in that lineup. And that's the difference. I think Toronto can manufacture runs more easily than Seattle by a wide margin. So I got Toronto in the series. Lonte, you agree on the 1.5? What do you think? Do you think it's close? Do you think Toronto kills them? What do you like in the series?
No, I think 1.5 is. Yeah, I think 1.5 is a good play. I'm going to take a sprinkle on this on the sweep as well. I'll sprinkle on 4 and 5, just like exact.
You
outcomes.
can do 2.5 if you want to. I actually should mention that.
The most extreme
2.5 on Toronto plus 370.
I guess the most. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I may look at that as well. Yeah, that's a good one. But yeah, I think they'll get the main one that they have to get is Game 3. Especially if they're going down 2-0, like that's the one that I think they'll get. And then I think that Toronto will end up winning the next one. So, I think
but by the way, I think earlier in the show, you said Detroit only scored more than 3 runs once. That was actually Seattle. Seattle scored 9 runs in.
That's what I mean. Yeah, I meant to say.
That's fine. Seattle scored 8 runs in Game 3.
Yeah.
They scored less than 4 runs in every other game. I think this offense stinks. And you can quote me on that. So give me Toronto in this one to get the job done in what I think should be, I'll say 6 to be generous, but I'll say right now, though, minus 2.5 games at around plus 370. I mean, that's That's a nice price. I'm not gonna go against that. That's probably worth something for the value. But
100%.
either way, I think we've kind of covered it for the series. To move on though, to game one that we got to talk about. So for the pitching matchup, you have Gausman taking on Miller. You have Miller, who was actually decent in his only outing against Detroit, but I'm sure Seattle fans, after the regular season that he had, really did not want to see him starting a postseason series, but here we are. So you got Miller going against Gausman, who was good against the Yankees. One outing, 5 2/3, gave up 1 run, so he pitched well. For the actual pricing, Toronto's favored -165. Seattle's around +140. Over-under is at 7.5. For the run line, I see Toronto -1.5, +135. Seattle +1.5 is -160. I thought blindly, after Seattle used every starting pitcher that they had, basically, besides Miller, and after that ordeal, I'm shocked Toronto's not -180, -190. So I'll take Toronto because I think this line's too short. So Lonte agrees. Yeah.
I completely agree.
I agree.
I mean, I
actually think the total's actually low. I'm gonna stay away from the 160. It's kind of past my number, but I take the over 7.5 at -115. My total came out to 8.3. If you don't trust the full game, if you don't trust the Mariners, honestly, to help you get over the total, Blue Jays first 5-team total over 1.5. They've hit this number in every game this postseason. They've also gone over this total, the 7.5, all 4 games versus the Yankees. The offense, we mentioned it for the first half of the show. It's just so good right now. Going up against the Mariners pitching staff, wiped out. They're thin right now. I think it might be over early for them. I agree with Scott. I think they might actually just punt the game if I'm being honest. And Bryce Miller, going for the Mariners, he just really wasn't good on the road this year. And the one time he faced Toronto back in May, he got smoked for 7 runs. The game ended in double digits. I just think the Blue Jays are good for 4 or 5 runs themselves. And, Mariners could get a run or two, maybe get over this total. But I think, honestly, the safer play is the Blue Jays here, first 5 over 1.5.
Yeah, I agree. I like Toronto run line in this game. I don't think Seattle's going to go into this game knowing we're punting it. But the point is, if Miller does struggle, and if he pitches like usual Bryce Miller, then what are they supposed to do? They got nothing. The point is, they're going to go in trying to win. But I do think, obviously, if Miller struggles, he might get some serious mop-up duty. They might just tell him, listen, no matter how badly you're pitching, we need you to go 5 innings. Like, we don't have a choice. You have to go 5 innings. And at that point, Toronto might blow the game open. So we think Miller's not very good. He had 1 good outing in the postseason against Detroit. We all agree Detroit can't hit. So I can't really buy too much into it. I mean, Toronto, they were both, I'd say, better pitchers, obviously, than Miller. Toronto destroyed Fried. They destroyed Heel. They've beaten up on a lot better pitchers than Bryce Miller in their home building or in Yankee Stadium. It's a bad matchup for Miller. I think that he's going to struggle. I think Toronto jumps him. I agree about the first 5-team total over. I think Toronto's going to have 3+ runs by the 4th inning, give or take, around there. And at that point, I don't think Seattle's good enough to actually catch up. So I got Detroit to, once again, Detroit showed how Seattle's bad offense is good enough to advance. I think Toronto puts them in their place. That's kind of my stance. But I just see a Toronto team that is just better than the Seattle team in a lot of different areas, mainly offense. I got Toronto rolling in game 1. Give me Toronto -1.5 at +135.
Yeah.
What do you like, Lonte?
No, something else I was reading about earlier is Bo Bichette started running and he did some batting practice. So they got until tomorrow to put him on the roster. So I think he'll be there. Now, how much impact he makes, I'm not 100% sure. But, I mean, just having him there going forward, especially if it's kind of a blowout, kind of get his feet wet.
This is also a team that was out with Chris Bassett and Max Scherzer as well.
I was looking at Bassett, though. He still has the back issue. I didn't see any updates on if he's going to be on the roster or not for the ALCS. Scherzer, I'm assuming, will be left off because he was just terrible to end the regular season. That wasn't really injury-based. That was just performance-based. Bassett hurt his back, so I'm still waiting to hear news about it. But Bichette, they killed the Yankees without Bichette anyway. But we know Bichette, when he's healthy, is a threat to lead the league in hits. Like, he's a very good contact hitter.
Very good.
So that's, you just add more firepower to the lineup, and I don't know how Seattle handles it. So we're all in Toronto, probably -1.5. We agree on that?
Yeah.
Lonte, you agree? Cool. All right. For the
Agree,
total, I think I agree about the over 7.5, but this Seattle offense just terrifies me. Not in a good way. I think I prefer the Toronto team total over. Just Toronto goes up early, they coast, but Seattle, I'd rather not back them to contribute. And I think unlike Detroit, I actually trust Toronto to pitch around Raleigh and force anybody else to beat them in the lineup. So I don't mind Raleigh walks. I think that could be an option for games in this series. So that's kind of a prop there that I'm thinking about.
You want to go into props real quick? Because I got a few.
Sure. Yeah, you could just throw them out there.
Yeah. We talked about Bryce Mitchell over 1.5 earned runs, and I agree with
Bryce Miller. Bryce Miller. Shout out to the UFC fighter.
Shout out. That's my focus was on that real quick. But Bryce Miller over 1.5 runs. It's a little chalky, -160, but he's gone over this number in 10 straight games. And like I said earlier, he gave up 7 runs back in May versus the Blue Jays, and with the way the Blue Jays are swinging the bat right now, they could easily get 2 runs. It's kind of correlated to my over 1.5 team total. So. And I agree with what Scott said. I just think the Mariners are going to have to force him and leave him out as long as they can, because how many arms they used on Friday night. I also like Bryce Miller over 11.5 outs at -105. Just got to get
have a choice.
Yeah, they got to just get through 4 innings, and I think he could do that. This is another prop. He's gone over in 10 straight games, and even in a bad outing versus Toronto earlier in the season, he went 5 innings. They just let him go. So I think they're just going to let him go. So Bryce Miller over 11.5 outs at -105, over 1.5 earned runs. Ernie Clement, though, I also like for Toronto on the other side, over 1.5 HRR, and you could get that at +110, so it's a nice little plus price money. He's gone over this number in 7 straight games, and in the last 3 meetings versus the Mariners, he has had success versus this Mariner team. So, he is 2 for 2, small sample size, obviously, against Bryce Miller, but he has success against him. So hopefully this cashes early, but I like Clement over 1.5 HRR as well.
Yeah, I was thinking if I wanted to go for Gausman strikeouts at 5.5, but he only had 3 against Seattle last time out. But I mean, Seattle has been striking out so much recently. I think Gausman has got a decent path to get there at 5.5. So I'm thinking about it, but I didn't actually lock that in. I did mention this though for Game 5. I'll throw this back again. Give me Suarez over 1.5 strikeouts. +133. I mean, it's a joke.
He's terrible at this point.
At this point, he's been brutal. He strikes out all the time. +135, 133, whatever. I'll take that again. I think that's a good option. I do like your Clement play. I wonder what I want to do for Vlad, because I feel like I need to take him in some capacity, but his HRR is at 2.5. His single, though, is at -118. He's at a single in 5 straight games. So I don't mind that. Maybe Vlad's single in this one. I think that could be a play that I'm interested in. But yeah, I think it's going to be mainly pro-Toronto props, anti-Seattle props. I was contemplating, though, maybe Gausman under on his outs, because it's actually pretty high. It's at 16.5. The under is +101. He had 17 against the Yankees because he was shoving. Yeah. I mean, the Yankees couldn't hit in that building. But do I think he needs to go 5 and change? Not really. We saw Toronto use a lot of relievers in that Yankee series. I think we'd agree that they actually trust the bullpen a lot more than we did going to the postseason. I can see him potentially getting pulled after 5. I don't know if that number at plus money should be there at 16.5. So if you want to get cute, maybe go for Gausman under 16.5 outs at +101.
The number seems a little high.
That's what I thought. Because usually for starting pitchers, you feel good about 5 innings.
100%.
The argument could be for Game 2, Toronto might be stuck. So maybe they want Gausman to go distance, and that'll open the door for a bullpen game in Game 2. Maybe. But I still think 16.5 plus money to the under. Weird things can happen for a postseason start. Walks can be an issue, base runners, etc. Or maybe he pitches relatively decently, gets into trouble at the end, and they give him the quick hook. So we'll see. But I didn't mind the under on the Gausman outs there. Yeah, I see Lonte went AWOL, so I guess we're just going to continue. You have anything else you want to mention for props?
Just our home run.
We'll save that for the end.
Yeah, that's all I had, those 3 props. But I do like the Gausman under outs. That seems like a lot.
I'm not sure if I'm fully locking that yet, but I think plus money is pretty appealing.
Yeah, it's a good look, though.
For a spot there. So either way, I like your Miller play. Whether he's good or not, damn, he's going to have to go some innings. So I think that outs prop is worth something. If I was going to piggyback off of that, actually, just to look at Miller's props, do I want to go for like hits allowed or something? Like that could be an option too.
I think it was at 3.5, right?
It is, but I see minus 140 on some exchanges.
It's not bad.
4.5 plus 145. I mean, for the record, by the way, you mentioned the Toronto start the season back in May. He gave up 8 hits in 5 innings. So I don't mind going for an alt hits allowed prop on Miller at 4.5 plus 145.
I like that too.
So there you go. All right. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for the Game 1 breakdown for the Mariners and Blue Jays ALCS series. Before we get into the actual lock and dog picks, a reminder that we are brought to you by our sponsor, which is On Fantasy. Play Fantasy Pick'em for a chance to win 500 times your entry. Pick higher or lower on your favorite player stats. Available for a ton of different sports as well. They have a brand new offer for new customers that we have a promo code for. Play just $5, get $100 bonus funds. Use promo code MLB SGPN. We're also brought to Rhythm. So they're off to a great start in college football in the NFL. They went 8-2 in passing prop overs last week in the NFL. So check them out this week. They're giving away weekly cash prizes for tracking your bets in the app. Track 5 bets of the same type, run them all that you build, and you can win 5K, or 1K, I mean, in prizes. So once again, track 5 bets from any model, and you can win 1K. Use promo code SGPN25. We download the Rhythm app for a quarter of first month. That Rhythm, once again, promo code SGPN25. Welcome back, everyone, to the MLB Gambling Podcast. Finished going through the series preview for the ALCS and Game 1. Time to move on into our best bets. Dylan, I'll let you go first. What's going to be your best bet for the show?
Yeah, I'm just going to take the first 5 team total. We don't have a price on it just yet, so I'll fish that out for you guys when it comes up. But unless, Scott, you see something. But Blue Jays first 5 over 1.5 their team total.
I see that at like minus 190. So you're getting 2.5 is plus 110.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe I'll do that then. Maybe I'll change it since I don't want to lay that as my best bet. I'll do 11.5 outs here for Bryce Miller. Then, like I said, you mentioned it. They're gonna have to leave him out with how many pitchers they used last night. They're gonna let him go 4 or 5 outings and just let him go as long as he can. He just has to get through 4 innings, and I think he could do that. And he's gone over this in 10 straight games. So even in a bad outing, I still think they leave him out there to dry. So, yeah, over 11.5 outs, probably my favorite bet.
Yeah, I can get behind that too. I think my bet here that I'm going to go for, which I think is a pretty good price, Toronto halftime, full-time. Or in other words, Toronto to lead after 5 innings and to lead after the 9 innings, plus 150 on Bet365. I'll take that. I mean, if Miller gets destroyed, then we're coasting.
Yeah.
They're going to be up multiple runs through 5 innings, but I like it. Give me Toronto, halftime, full-time, plus 150 on Bet365 as my best bet. Moving on, though, to the home run picks. By the way, Lonte's computer died, but he did mention his actual best bet is Toronto team total over. That's going to be his lock, and he has a bonus play on Springer HRR. So he's going to go for the over on that, but he's going to go with Toronto team total over as his best bet. So for the home run picks, what do you like, Dylan?
I will, and don't mean to tell, I am not that guy, but William Contreras did hit the home run in the first inning, so we get there.
I'm trying to remember. You gave him out in the end?
Yeah, did I not?
I thought about it, and I ended up not doing him, but I know one of us did.
Yeah, no, I think you did someone else.
I did Kyle Tucker in the end.
Yeah. And then Suzuki followed it up in the top second. Yeah. So for this one, I'm gonna do Vladdy. I mean, it's obvious, but I mean, he's honestly the only one that's really been hitting home runs for this Toronto team. It's plus 325. He has a home run in 3 of the last 4 games versus the Yankees. He's just on fire right now. He's really seeing the ball well. I know this whole lineup is really good, but they haven't been hitting home runs like Vladdy. So I think at home, the crowd is going to be buzzing. I think Vladdy gets one. So plus 325, I'll take Vlad.
Yeah, I shopped around. I found 375.
Ooh, thank you. Yeah,
if you want it. Let me just quickly see Miller's numbers against Toronto, because there could be a couple of people that go yard. See, Santander's been good against them, but he was pretty bad in that Yankee series, and they rushed him back from injury, so I don't really want to bother with him. You know what? I'll go for the guy who's actually been pretty good at home so far this postseason. Give me Kirk. I think Kirk can go yard in this game. Lifetime 400 batting average against Miller. I don't know how long Miller's going to go. Sorry, 500 batting average 1 for 2 of the double, so he got an extra base hit. If you want to go for his home run, plus 750.
Wow.
And he actually had he has 5 home runs in the last 6 games. Now, he had 2 against the Yankees in game 1. He had 2 in the finale against Tampa. The point is, though, in the last 3 home games, last 4 home games, he has had a homer in 3 of them. So he's been great in the Rogers Center, plus 750. I'll take as my home run pick for the show. Anyway, that is going to wrap it up. We'll be back once again to get into the NLCS preview once this Cubs and Brewers game goes final. Dylan, anything else you want to say before we end the show?
No, just good luck, and hopefully we don't get another 15-inning game.
Yeah, hopefully not. But either way, find him on Twitter at Rocket2Ks24. Find me on Twitter at Reicher Radio. Till next time, good luck to all of you and all of your bets. Bye, everyone.